Hi, folks. Roage here in my wood shop. This is an introduction to give you new people that are just coming in a little bit of idea of what the Roage site is about and what this YouTube channel is about, so that you can navigate the material properly. One thing you need to know right off the bat is you did not find this by accident, even though you think you did. Um, you'll As you go through the material, you'll see why I say that. Uh, the other thing that I know is something very odd is now starting to happen to you. And the fact that you found this material is a symptom of that. Um, don't be afraid. It's okay. Now, there are going to be three separate reactions to the material that's being presented here. Okay? For you folks that already have gone through this process, um, most of this will be review. However, you will find that I've got stuff that is unique to me that you really probably won't find anywhere else. Certainly not easily. You'll basically say, "Hey, yeah, the comments will come through right on Road. Yeah, okay." The other group, you will have started into the process a little bit, and all of a sudden you'll start, seeing some of the stuff, and you may or may not agree with all of it, and you might leave and then come back. But a lot of what I say won't be really unsettling for you. Um, then there are those that are gonna start into the material, and they're either just going to just turn it off because they can't. It won't keep their attention. They won't believe anything that I say, or they'll just basically freak out and just run away. um, and that's okay. However, you got to remember, if you want to ease your discomfort, you're probably going to have to sit through a few of my videos. Now, I try to make them as interesting as possible, and sometimes I use special effects. Look, my budget isn't very big, in case you noticed. And the sound quality isn't really good, and sometimes the video isn't really good. And hey, let's face it, some of the jokes are stupid. But hey, some of them aren't. Okay, I try to make it as entertaining as possible. Now, as you're going through it, there's a number of different types of videos. Okay, what happened to me basically 13 years ago is I met some agents of the U.S. federal government, and they basically told me something that confused me. They told me that due process does not apply here. Okay, it took me 7 years before I figured out why, and then I have to agree with what they said. It was the truth. Um, So that was in 2006. Something happened to me at the end of that period that actually changed every aspect about me in my life. I got to a point where I was terrified. The pressure had actually pushed me past the breaking point, and I just threw up my hands and gave up. And little did I realize that I had gone sane. I know some of you probably don't understand what I'm talking about, but that's the problem with living in an insane world. The people who are actually sane are the ones everybody thinks is nuts. And if you don't believe me, ask some of the other people that it's happened to. They look at you, they just shake their head, and they say, you're nuts. Now, that's going to be a lot of you out there that are going to be still in this confused state. And it's very easy to tell if you're in this state. Okay. Um, if you are unhappy, if you are confused about the way the world works, or you don't quite understand it, if everything's sort of a mystery to you, and things start happening, things just happen to you by accident, chance, and chaos, that's usually a good indicator. If you are afraid, that's a good indicator. If you are angry or vengeful, I mean, to any level, and there's a lot of us out there that are really passive aggressive. Um, if you're depressed, generally, if you're on some medication that's actually trying to put you to some sort of state of normalcy, or at least normalcy as psychologists define it, they're not really a authoritative source of what sanity is, because they're not there to actually help you. They're there to make money off of you. Okay, so for them, the word cure, I don't believe comes out of their face. Treatment does, and generally they're very good at treating you. And most of the time, from what I've seen, they've been treating people badly. So when you go through the material, there is a number of things that has gone on. There is material that's specifically designed with teaching you natural law. And the reason why natural law is important is because that is how I escape to a place of sanity, by simply understanding how this world works. And it works according to some laws that, conveniently they haven't taught us. So by trial and error, I went through the process of proving these laws to myself, and my website actually, and my video channel is my effort to actually simply share what I have gone through, and hopefully, in not all the cases, but in most cases, you can avoid some of the tests that I had to run, and avoid some of the pain that was required in actually proving these things to myself. Now, some of the videos will actually go through and relate this. All of the videos have concepts of law in them. Okay, and some of them are fairly cut and dry. They skip out of all the fluff and they go right to the center of it. Cheat sheet Mark 4. Okay, but most people that come here aren't ready for that yet. Okay, and the reason why is because you need context before you can even understand that. You have to be able to relate the law to your own experience in a meaningful way. Otherwise, you're not going to believe it. Okay, it has to be real for you. And you have to have examples, many examples, before you're going to allow yourself to rely on that law being actually axiomatic. The other videos, actually go to my most recent trial and error test, and that actually began in April 19th of last year, 2012. Again, I had agents of the U.S. federal government tell me that due process does not apply, and they also told me that recourse and remedy to the law isn't provided for in the existing system. Okay, and I went about actually proving that. And I have an open question. Okay, now I didn't need the answer to the question because I already knew. However, that doesn't really help the situation, because most of the people who are diligent and well-meaning agents of the federal government and the world government and all of their subsidiary corporations and agencies, most of those people do not understand exactly how they derive their power. Okay, so I ask a question. How does the federal government and in all of its subsidiaries derive its power? I know it's not the Constitution because they're not abiding by it. I know it's not by the consent of the people because they're doing things against people's consent. So I went through to figure out exactly what it was that they were doing. Come to find out, after finding the closest thing that actually would work, technically they presume you to be insane. And you know, it's a pretty good assumption. And if you're insane, then they need to take care of you. Now, all that needs, we're not talking about needing a revolt, any violence. All we really need is to realize that the only way that agents of the federal government actually have power, and I mean power to pull the taser trigger, power to do anything, power to frighten, and power to manage, is because we are confused and we demand that they do that for us. And once we change our mind, and enough of us actually realize how the law works and how the world works, then that'll just change all by itself, and nobody has to spill any blood, nobody has to say any harsh words. It's just a change in perception. Once we realize that they don't have the lawful authority to tell you what to do. So poke around on the website, poke around on this channel. You can't blow it here. Although you may think you have control in this universe. It's all been pre-programmed, and it's been pre-programmed for your benefit. Now, I don't care if you don't believe me right now. The more time you spend on the material, the more things will start making sense to you. Of course, you're going to hit this threshold, of course, when all of a sudden you're going to say, uh-oh, I'm dealing with a crazy man. When you do that, you'll probably run away. And that's okay. You'll be back. You have no choice. I'm Roage. Have fun. Hey, I answer questions. Find me on the site. Email me. All right? For the time being, I can answer questions. There's been a significant change here in the woodshed for you folks that have already been exposed to my material. And hey, and don't panic. When things start resolving themselves, I will, more fully, I'll put out another video. But it's really too early. If you want to see what I'm looking at, look at the IRS scandal. Look at the Benghazi scandal. Look at what's happening in the media as far as their inability to actually fool people anymore. Look at what's happening in the military. Look at all of these things that they're losing control of. Okay? If you know, you folks out there want to believe it really had nothing to do with what went on last year, that's okay. They are related because we're all doing this the same way. So, hey, it's the lovely Beebles, my wife. So, I will. I'll let you watch the videos. If you have questions, send me questions, and I'll answer them if I could. But there's been an interesting development in the woodshed. In the wood shop here, there's a window. Now, as my universe inside is like my universe outside, that means there's been a significant change. Now people can see into the woodshed, and I can see out. And that is going to have a pretty interesting effect on the outer universe. I'm Roage, in the wood shop. You have a good day.